Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, coming to you 6 days a week as we interview whitetail experts and hear their traditions and personal stories of the hunt. Learn more about the latest gear, discover proven tips, and the latest strategies so you can make your next hunt a success. Now here's your host, Bruce Hutchin.
Welcome to a special Iowa Deer Classic podcast with Whitetail Rendezvous and Killer Gear with Will Downard. Will, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we're just got a few minutes here. We want to promote your company, Killer Gear, and also Iowa Deer Classic. So why don't you just jump right into it and tell the folks what your products are all about and what kind of promos you're going to run at the show and why they should show up at Iowa Deer Classic.
Sure. So we're a 5-year-old company based out of here, Des Moines, Iowa, home of the Iowa Deer Classic. We originated 5 years ago with our flagship product, the Turkey Fan, which I believe is becoming a household name now, especially here in central Iowa anyway. But we started with the turkey decoy called the Turkey Fan. And since then, we've moved on to a second generation turkey fan, which we call the Jake Fan. And we are starting to get into Western big game decoys. So we now have an elk and an antelope decoy. We will have them all at the Iowa Deer Classic. We'll be running a show special. I believe everything is 20% off of retail at the show. And for anyone checking out this podcast, if you want to mention it at the show, we'll give you another 10% off of that. So for a full 30% off at the show. So come by, check us out. We will be at booth 910. It's a pretty big booth. Can't miss us. So yeah, swing by, say hello. Let us know you saw us on the podcast.
Wow, that's great. Listeners, you're going to get 30% off if you mention Whitetail Rendezvous to Will and the crew at Killer Gear at the Iowa Deer Classic coming up March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in Des Moines, Iowa. Will, why did you start the decoy company?
I've been in construction my whole life. I've always owned my own businesses. Somewhere around the late 90s, I came up with the way of fanning or reaping in turkey hunting. I just kind of stumbled on it by mistake. And here, fast forward about 15 years, come to find out a lot of people knew about it, but everyone kind of kept it hush-hush. It was one of the biggest hunting industry secrets, at least in the turkey world. So there really wasn't any products or nothing marketed towards hunting that way. I had a lot of family and friends always tell me I should do something with that idea because I was always told it was $1 million idea if I did do something with it. So we spent a couple years and kind of perfecting it and coming up with a actual working prototype decoy that could actually be sold to the consumer in the commercial space. Up until that point, we used all kinds of different ways to hunt this way. We used cardboard and plywood cutouts and you name it, we did it, spray cans, the whole 9 yards. So we came up with this umbrella type system. It does a lot of different things. When you're turkey hunting, it actually mimics a tom turkey going in and out of strut. They can break down. In fact, if you're not familiar with it, when it's broke down, it opens up very quickly to mimic a bird going in and out of strut. From across the field, a bird sees that, or even the human eye sees that. It looks very similar to a big old gobbler just puffing in and out. That always triggers something to those dominant toms. You do that a couple times and you just see their heads turn that glowing white and they puff up and they get their dominance coming on and they're looking for a fight. So that's what it's all about. We designed it like that, a couple of different reasons, and come to find out in testing it and everything else, it really functions for a lot more reasons that we originally didn't even design it for. So it worked out really well, but we launched it back in 2013 and it kind of went viral. We were very overwhelmed with how people took it and perceived it and jumped on it. And we've been running with it ever since. So it's been good times. I love it.
Well, good for you. That's the first time. I'm not a big turkey hunter, so no surprise that I hadn't seen it before, but I like it because portability, you don't have to worry about breaking anything down. It's basically the shape of an umbrella. You can stick it any place in your pack. Yep. And the way it pops out, because if anybody has seen turkey strutting and mimics that, that's really impressive.
Yeah, we came out with the elk and the antelope for elk hunters. There really aren't a lot of products on the market for elk decoys, and that's for a couple reasons. It's really hard to come up with an elk decoy that's light enough and packable enough that someone's actually going to want to stick it in their pack and hike up in the mountains with. So There's a couple companies out there that make some silhouettes, and they've been around for years, and I've used them for years. There's just not a whole lot of selection out there. So when we came out with the elk, again, it weighs under 2 pounds. It'll strap to the side of your pack. And when it's go time, it takes little effort and little time to actually get it out and have it ready to go. And we have a unique staking design that's built into the handle. And this is on the antelope, the elk, and the Jake fan. But the stake pulls out of the handle and stakes into the ground. So you can't lose it. It's always there.
I love that. I like that engineering because one thing you have to do, I set up my elk decoys away from where I'm calling. I'll throw my call towards them, but they could be 20, 30, 40, 50 yards away from me to get their eye. And then depending on the wind and everything, I'll just throw my voice towards them. And so the elk, when he comes up, will be looking at them. They won't be looking at me. And that's
absolutely.
And so you got to figure a way to attach it to a tree, to a bush, bungee cords or whatever. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Clips, and like I said, but with the integrated stake, that's pretty slick.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we wanted to accomplish. The existing decoys for elk hunting that are on the market now, they do pose some issues. They are lightweight and very packable, but like you said, they have somewhat of a clumsy staking system, or you have to be near some trees or bushes to clip them or hang them up, and they really don't do well in the wind. So yeah, we're pretty proud of the elk fan. It's just as packable, just as lightweight, and it can be staked down in an open field, an open meadow, just about anywhere you want. Because yeah, you know as well as I do, if you're solo hunting, you're going to want to stake it down and be upwind of it that 30, 40 yards, because that's where that bull elk is going to come in to get the wind anyway. Right. So put some right in your lap. And if you have a partner and you're shadow calling, it's just as easy to stay behind calling. And we use a lot that way too. And we've been very successful with it.
I'm glad we got together to do this promo for the Iowa Deer Classic this morning with Killer Gear. Innovated. What do they run? What's the retail on them?
The original turkey fan runs at $99.99. The Jake and the Antelope is $139.99, and the elk is $169.99. Those are all MSRP retail prices. So again, at the show, we'll have show specials and about 20, 30% off on all the products.
That's great. Anything else you'd like to add about the Iowa Deer Classic before we close this segment up?
Just that it's a great show. I've been attending it for years, even way before I started a business and started being a vendor myself. I've always loved walking the aisles and meeting people. I know a lot of people there, and it's the one time out of the year I get to see a lot of faces and meet a lot of people that I really see once a year. So if you're there, come stop by. Again, it's booth 910. Can't miss us. We're a great big booth, but stop by, say hello, tell us you saw us on the podcast, and come check out the decoys in person.
Well, with that, thank you so much, Will, and we look forward to seeing you at the Iowa Deer Classic March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in Des Moines, Iowa.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.